Hello everyone, and welcome to the Daily Dose. Glad you're here. Always look forward to having this time and sharing with you from day to day from our pastors here at our church. I don't know if you've ever felt kind of overlooked or neglected or unnoticed at some point in your life, and all of us have, and at different ways, and how the different ways that happens. Sometimes people that you desire to notice you or to acknowledge you, they're just distracted. There's just a lot of other things going on in their life, and to have that moment where they would focus on you or to notice you or to regard something that you've done or something that you've produced in your life. And when that goes unnoticed, it hurts. You notice that, I notice that. We seek that kind of acceptance, of acknowledgement from people. And I don't know, maybe you have felt that way in your life sometimes, that God doesn't notice or He doesn't acknowledge you. I've heard people jokingly talk about all the time, well, how is God going to be interested in what my issues are? And most of the time they think them to be maybe smaller issues when He's got all of these other things going on in the world that He's trying to keep up with. Well, the Scripture tells us something about the person of God that's really different between what we know of ourselves and who He is, and that the limitations that we have, God doesn't have. My inability to give my full attention to everything in my life isn't an inability that God struggles with. The Scripture, there are theological terms for that, descriptive terms, that He's omniscient, that He knows everything all the time, that He's omnipresent, which means eternally He's in the now. Everything that is happening, that has ever happened throughout history and will happen in the future, it happens to God as if it happens to you and me in the moment. And so those limitations He does have. But even more than that, I think it's important for us to understand God's attitude and perspective upon who we are to Him and how He regards us. And I want to draw your attention to the passage in the Gospel of Luke, the encounter that Jesus had with Zacchaeus. And we all know that Zacchaeus was someone who was not well thought of. Jesus was traveling through his town, Jericho. Zacchaeus wanted to get a glimpse of Jesus, and so he kept trying to get close and get into kind of the pathway of where Jesus was going to go, but there was a lot of people. And so every time he tried to do that, he kind of got pushed to the back because, again, people didn't hold him in high regard for what he did and who he was. And so he decided he's going to climb a tree, and he did that. Many of us sang the little song when we were kids, and when Jesus came by, of all the things that were going on, the description that we get is that there was just this throng of people, this huge crowd of people, and Jesus saw Zacchaeus and addressed him individually. And as they did that, it says, and everyone saw this, and they were startled. They began to grumble and complain because Zacchaeus, in their words, was a sinner, and Jesus now had picked him out of the crowd, out of everyone there, and given him that attention. And I know what you guys are thinking right now is you're thinking, okay, so that's the part you want us to see, Mark, that here's Jesus walking through this town, all these people, good people, religious people, and He notices this guy. Yes, but that's not the thing. The thing is to understand where Jesus was in His life. You see, right before this, and if you read in the Gospel of Luke in chapter 18, Jesus is on His way to Jerusalem. And He had been telling His disciples exactly what was going to happen when He got to Jerusalem. Let me read it to you. He says, "We are now on our way to Jerusalem," in verse 31. "Everything that the prophets wrote about the Son of Man will happen there. He will be handed over to foreigners," speaking of the Romans, "who will make fun of Him, mistreat Him, spit on Him. They will beat Him and kill Him. But 3 days later, he will be raised to life." So it's not just that he noticed maybe the least expected person in that crowd, but when I don't acknowledge people or when I don't notice things, it's usually not what is happening presently, it's my mind is preoccupied. I'm thinking about something that has happened previously or something that has kind of captured my mind that's going to happen in the near future. And I become distracted because of those things. So here's Jesus traveling to Jericho, really his last stop before Bethany, where he stays with his friends, Lazarus, Martha, and Mary when he's in Jerusalem. His last stop before he gets to Jerusalem and the Jerusalem area, he's told this is exactly what's going to happen. And you would think he would be distracted by that, by what waits him. And he knows what is awaiting him, but he's not. He notices these people, and specifically he noticed Zacchaeus. And so when you think about God not noticing you, or you think about God not being aware of where you are and what you're going through, just know he is. And there's really nothing, if the coming suffering and brutality and violence that was going to be afflicted upon Jesus wasn't something that could distract him from noticing a guy like Zacchaeus, then you and I need to know that, okay, God's not going to be distracted. He's going to be aware, and he's going to know what's happening in my life, and he's going to be ready to respond and to move, to help, to encourage, whatever it takes. And so be encouraged by that God's not going to be distracted by other things to the point that he's going to be unaware of you. He's always unaware. That's why when Jesus says at the end of his time here on earth to his followers, listen, you're going to have authority, you're going to have power, you're going to have all these things. The Father's going to do amazing things through you. The Spirit of God is going to do amazing things through you. But know this, you'll never be alone. I'll be with you all the way. And God is with you all the way. Regardless of what is happening in the world, he's not going to be distracted and to be unaware of your life. So no, he's there. Lean into him. Depend upon him. And I hope you guys have a great day. And we'll talk to you another day. Bye-bye, everyone.